Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guest today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice. We're going to have a fun episode today. We're going to talk about an interesting topic, which I'm a little jacked up to dive into, but I got a special guest with me, Kevin Palmieri of Next Level University, and we're going to talk about overcoming the fear of not failure, of success, kind of a twist on that common thing. So before we dive in, though, Kevin, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Brandon, thank you so very much for having me. Excited to chat. You and I had a great conversation behind the scenes. Hopefully some of that will translate in front of the scenes.
Yes, we've known each other for a long time now.
Yes,
so
12 minutes.
Not even, which is amazing. But that's what I love about podcasting. You're a fellow podcaster, so you can appreciate that.
Yes.
So before we go any further, go check out the show notes below. Kevin's podcast, also a daily podcaster. So we can both fill your ear holes every single day. And that's just a little scary to think about. But anyway, Kevin, you have 3 tips for us for overcoming the fear of success, which is interesting. We're going to get there, but I'm curious, unpack for me. This is totally different. It's the complete opposite of what most people talk about in business and growing your business, which is the fear of failure. How'd you stumble upon this?
So I am somebody who is terrified of failure. One of my core wounds, one of my core fears is not being good enough. I end up partnering up with somebody who is completely the opposite. He is a visionary leader who thinks anything is possible. He loves failure. He's not worried about failing at all. But I remember we were in our studio one day and we were talking, and it got to the point where we had realized I was terrified of failure. And I said, well, you're not afraid of failure. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of success? Could you possibly be afraid of success? Because every time you succeed, you get villainized. Every time you succeed, people reach out and make fun of you. Every time you succeed, people think you're lucky and you should be more successful than you are. And we dug and we dug and we dug. And that's what we realized. We realized that my core wound was the polar opposite of his. His fear is success. Then we started to look in our community, and a lot of people that are very, very confident were also very, very afraid of success. And that blew my mind, Brandon. Like I told you behind the scenes, I'm afraid of failure. I thought everybody was doing this to succeed. But in reality, some people unconsciously sabotage their own success without knowing it. And I think that's one of the big reasons why. They're afraid of, well, what happens if I do achieve the level of success I desire? What is that going to make me? Am I going to be able to handle it? Are people going to reach out? And that can be very scary, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we all have one of two. I don't think there's anybody that's not afraid of anything in terms of success or failure, or that hasn't either recognized it and worked on it. Let me say that, because you can get past it, but you just have to acknowledge which side you lean. I personally lean more towards success, but also spiders. Like, I don't know how those two things play together, but I'm definitely like afraid of spiders, and I don't want to get over that fear. But anyway, it's just
understandably so. I would have guessed success for you because you come off as very confident.
Oh, I think arrogant is what you said. Did you just
no, I would
arrogant?
never say that. I would never. That's a thing. People who have a ton of belief in themselves, they're not afraid of failure. But I think the internal stuff, it's not about whether or not you can succeed. It's about whether or not you can handle what comes with the success that you desire.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I love that you've analyzed this, and now you even on a large scale within your community. So I'm curious, before we get into how to fix it, I want to see kind of what does this look like? Like, how does this manifest for you, both your business partner and also for other people in your community? Are there some common traits that they put off? Is it procrastination? Is it just limiting themselves? How does it look?
Perfectionism is one that we've seen for sure. Procrastination is another one. I would say if we could just put it under the umbrella of playing small. It's just playing smaller than you know you should and just not being able to connect. Why? I said this to my business partner back in the day. I said, you're going to be the best speaker living under a bridge. You'll be an incredible speaker, but nobody's ever going to know because you're not doing the things necessary to get outside of that. And it's really that. It's when you're playing smaller than you know you want to, but you can't figure out why. You feel super capable of accomplishing all the things you want, but there's something stopping you. You feel like it's internal and you just can't figure out what it is. That's the first place I would look.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's really cool that you get to study this on a broad scale too.
Yes.
So let's go through the 3 steps that you have for us to kind of overcome this fear of success. And then I'd love for you to give examples along the way of people in your community of what they've done to get past it too. Because I think a lot of people just hearing this for the first time are like, whoa, I never realized that. Or I didn't know that that's what it was.
Mm.
So I'm curious, where do we start with this?
Yeah, one is identifying where does it come from in the first place. Just like fear of failure, where does that come from? Maybe you got made fun of as a child. Maybe you got embarrassed. Okay, step one, let's identify where does this actually come from. I think a lot of it is bullying. It just as an example, my business partner was bullied a lot when he was younger. And every time he grew, okay, he paid off $84,000 worth of school debt in a year. And he was villainized for that by everybody around him. How dare you say that? We're all struggling. How dare you be proud of that? His success was a mirror for the lack of other people's success, and they pulled him down because of it. So that's a really good example of next time you have a success, are you really going to want to share it? Knowing what happened last time, you were so proud of yourself and you got beat up for it. So figure out where does it come from in the first place, because we can't solve a problem that we don't know where it was created from. So that's step one.
Yeah, and I heard this saying one time that the people above you will always have their hand out to pull you up, and so will the people below you, but to pull you back down. And you see that all the time on whether it's social media or in person with family and close friends. If you're getting a little too far ahead of where people want you to be, and there's maybe jealousy or some other ugly emotion, they're going to do everything they can to knock you down, pull you down, and keep you stuck. So is it ignoring those people? Like, how do you kind of just get away from that?
Well, that's step two. Step two is redefining the circle around you. Again, I'll use my business partner just because it's the best example I have of somebody who's like really, really overcome it. I remember we had a conversation one time and he was talking about his friend group. And I said, I mean this with love, and this is the kind of relationship we have. I said, the people around you kind of suck. They're not good for you. And just because you're used to being talked down to and bullied and made fun of doesn't mean that's the way it should be. I think that's the other part of identifying where it comes from is you start to see these patterns of, oh, for most of my life, I've had negative people who talk down and bully me, and they don't want to see me grow, but they do like the fact that I can help them win. Interesting. What does that mean? So second thing is redefining your current relationships and the community around you, because a lot of those people probably are holding you back from leaning into that successful version of you. And if anybody around you is making success wrong, it's going to be really, really, really hard for you to push through that.
Yeah, this probably the hardest part, I would think, at least from my own experience. I've done this with family, extended family, in-laws, and almost every single time it goes one of two ways. It goes the way of that person abandons you and doesn't want anything to do with you because they want to stay where they are, or if the person is self-aware, they can grow with you and change circles at the same time. But I'm curious if you've noticed those patterns as well.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, it's usually the first one. Unfortunately, I'm a very positive human and I believe in humans so very much, but from what I've seen, it's your responsibility to grow yourself. It's not your job to slow down for other people. Some people will come. Some people will join the journey and they'll continue, but you can't rely on that. You just can't rely on that. And that's why if I was going to give a step 3, it would be create and find a new community. Best example in the world that I have for this, when people come on our team and they work with us on the mission, I say, just be very careful because this is what's going to happen. You are going to get so much love, you're going to get so much permission, and you're going to get so much permission to lean into your greatness that it's going to get weird. And you'll probably get an ego for a little bit, and then you'll get knocked down, and it's this weird thing. But in our community, whether it's our Facebook group or our team, I want you to celebrate your wins to the point where it's uncomfortable, because if you celebrated those wins anywhere else, people would villainize you, they'd pull you down, they'd call you arrogant, whatever it is. I want you to do that here, because then your self-worth starts to increase, your self-belief continues to increase, and then eventually you're comfortable sharing that with people who aren't necessarily on the same level, because you're okay if they don't believe in you. You're okay if they villainize you a little bit, because you understand that that doesn't make you wrong, it doesn't make you less, and it doesn't mean you can't be successful because of it.
Yeah, I'm curious. Me and my business partner had this conversation. We were planning for Q2 of this year, and we have this whole week-long process that we do. We take our clients through, and we were like, why don't we celebrate the things we do well? Like, both of us, and we're both high achievers, like action takers, go-getter, whatever you want to label us as. And we fail to celebrate ourselves over and over and over. And it should be this practice that you do consistently to keep that momentum up. Why is that? Why don't we celebrate ourselves enough, particularly as high achievers?
Because I don't think high achievers need to. I really don't. Most of the people that have said, Kev, slow down, Kev, you need to celebrate your wins, that type of stuff, it's usually people who just don't really understand me. I don't really care to celebrate certain things that much. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it so I can celebrate. I'm doing it so I can have a bigger impact. So that the best answer I can give is, you know whether or not you should be. Either you're celebrating yourself and your success at the level that you feel is productive and constructive, or you're not. Be honest with yourself. Be very, very honest with yourself. Just like somebody might say, well, Kev, I heard you talk on the podcast the other day about how you're out of shape. You're not out of shape. You're in really good shape. I'm out of shape for me and my standards. You might not see that. You might think differently, but I have to live to my standards, because if I'm living to everybody else's standards, I'm not going to be happy or fulfilled with myself. I think success is the same way, right? Somebody might say, well, if I got to where you were, I would celebrate more. Maybe you would. Maybe you would. I don't know. That's personal. That's personal. So that's what I would say to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because we both kind of came to that consensus. Like, we don't need to pat ourselves on the back, but do our clients need that? And to what degree do we need to be celebrating them and pushing them up to, say, hey, you were here and now you're over here. You're making tremendous progress. Yeah. It's person by person, like you're saying, but I think that's important. And that's why you have a community, right? Is it to build each other up and
100%
continue that momentum?
Yeah, it's the understanding that what's best for me is not what's best for everyone. What's optimal for me is not what's optimal for everyone. And being in a community, it helps you understand what's best for each person. It's different. What's best for you is different than me, Brandon, and vice versa. And I think even getting to the point where you say, but is that what's best for our clients? That's huge, because everybody is different and nobody is you. And that's the duality of living.
But if everyone was me, they'd have a lot more fun. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, but the spiders would probably take over the world. You wouldn't even be able to leave your house because they know.
Man.
Yeah, you didn't think
I didn't think of that.
I know.
Okay, so only half of the people can be me.
I'm not afraid of spiders, so maybe half you, half me, and then we'll kind of
need more people like you on this planet, okay?
Yeah. No spiders. I'm not. No worries. They're small, and I don't care about them. Snakes, though.
Here's my theory: if it has more legs than me and it's not a mammal, that's terrifying. Okay, you never know what it could do with all those legs.
That's fair. Snakes shouldn't be able to move the way they move, though.
No, they shouldn't.
It's a danger noodle.
This is a whole rabbit hole. I'm sure we could take and unpack, maybe on a different episode. But
next time.
You, the listener, noodle on that, okay? Like, why can snakes move the way they can, and why do spiders have so many legs? Just, they'll haunt your dreams. Anyway, so we have the 3 steps, right? So take me through. I'm curious to hear, kind of start to finish. You and your business partner launched your podcast in, what'd you say, 2017, 18?
2017.
Okay. So when did he start to notice the fear of success, first of all?
Ooh, that was probably 2019.
Okay. So he went through these kind of 3 steps. You guys have obviously built a business. You've built a podcast. You've done 1.5 billion episodes at this point. He's probably overcome the fear of success to some degree. Take me through his journey of what did that look like in the last, 5 years now?
Yeah. In the very beginning, year 1, it was understanding, okay, why are you afraid? Like, how could you possibly be afraid of it? It was me not understanding, Brandon. It was, there's no way this could be real. You couldn't possibly be afraid of success because isn't that why you're doing this? Truth is, his version of success is different. So it was that. Okay, are you actually afraid of this and why? And we sat in our studio and we talked about it. He said, well, every time I grow, I lose people. And he said, I'm terrified of being alone. I'm terrified of me waking up one day and having no one around me who understands me, who values what I value. And I don't know what to do about that. And I said, all right, well, I'm going to love you for you. I love you for you. I don't want you to be any different. I want you to be yourself. Then he found a girlfriend who is so similar to him. They are a match made in heaven. I have no idea how they met. It's just an anomaly. But that also went into part 2 and 3 of stop spending time around the people who make you feel terrible about doing great things in the world. And he found someone who was so unique like him, who had the same experiences he did, who had the same fears as he did, that they could work on that together. And he found, for lack of better phrasing, his safe place, right? And then over the next 3 years, he's just leaned into himself more and more and more and more. And he's probably overswung and he's been villainized, but then he swings back to, okay, this is who I am. This is who I am. This is who I am. And a big reason is because the team values him for who he is. I value him for who he is. His partner values him for who he is. And now he knows he's safe to be himself. And I think that is the journey that we're all after. Whether it's fear of success, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being alone, we just want to be ourselves. And it's wild how being ourselves is actually the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah, it is. And it's something I don't think we can fully understand, but it comes from some type of fear, usually success or failure. But when you step into that, it's super powerful to just, unleash who you were meant to be. And it's an incredible place to be. So this is a cool conversation. I'm glad we got to talk about this.
Likewise.
And shed a light on it for people who may not have even known, who just thought they were maybe a little broken. I'll tell you what, I was definitely there a few years ago before I realized this. And step into your greatness, who you're meant to be. That's amazing. So I put your website on the screen. It's also down below in the show notes. You have a community and a podcast. Tell me about who you're looking for to join your community.
Yeah, for us, it's people who want more out of life, but they want to do it in a well-rounded way. I don't want to be wealthy and out of shape. I don't want to be in shape and out of love. I want health, wealth, and love. I've had versions of each, but I was never able to figure out how to connect them all together. So our thought is leveling up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth for somebody who wants more out of life. Anybody who is ambitious, who wants more, who wants to look in the proverbial mirror, who wants to do the work, that is what we talk about on Next Level University. And then we have a Facebook group also that's very similar, right? It's where you can fit in and you can be yourself, maybe, but hopefully not for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll definitely link to all that wherever you're watching, listening, down below in the show notes. Kevin, I appreciate you coming here. I have one final question.
Please, let's do it.
Which is, of course, it's a question for you to give me a question. If you're watching the show, you see behind me, there's an upside down question mark, right? That's what we're all about at What If, asking better questions, get better answers. So if someone is struggling with this fear of success, fear of failure, wherever they're at, and they're just a little bit stuck, what's the question you would have them ask for them to get that better result in their life?
Probably what would happen if I don't shift the thing that's holding me back? What is my life going to look like in the future if I don't shift the thing that's really, really limiting me?
Answer that question. You're not going to like the answer.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but sometimes we need that little kick in the butt to say, you know what? Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. I love that. For me, it was very much step 2, separating yourself from the people who are holding you back or tearing you down in some cases, and getting in that like-minded community. I always say that there's only 3 things you need to grow a business: clarity, confidence, and community. And quite frankly, the community one is probably the hardest to find, a good quality community. Mm-hmm. I love that you're building that. You take business principles from the Bible. It's a beautiful source, And it says, if people don't accept you, shake the dust from your feet and move on. So if you want to go back 2,000 years for advice, there you have it. Get in a like-minded community. nextleveluniverse.com. Fantastic place to start. And Kevin, thank you so much for this conversation.
My pleasure. I appreciate you.
Those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, make sure you subscribe. Then hop on over, subscribe to Kevin's show too. Like I said, twice the ear hole madness every single day. And we're going to keep bringing this episode to you of Harmonious at Lunch. We can't wait to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.